Thank you. Welcome, good morning and welcome to this press conference from the Interfaith Liaison Committee to the UNFCCC. I am Henrik Grape from World Council of Churches, but also co-chair of the Working Group of Climate Change. We are in the end of this COP, and we see things are happening, and we also see things that's not happening that we want to happen. And we also think from the Interfaith Liaison Committee that it is of importance also to have the faith communities as a part of the solutions to the climate justice issues that we are facing. We have technique, we have political ambition, political powers, we have science, but we also need some kind of value-based, something that guides us on where to go. And we from the Interfaith Liaison Committee have practiced this over some years now, and we also see the importance to come together and also to act together on climate change. So with this, I would like to start to give the word to Lindsay Fielder from the Quakers and have your thoughts about the COP and where we are, and it could be wider than that.
Thank you, Henrik, and thank you all for coming. I have been asked to speak on climate change as a peace concern, and when I speak of peace, I want to speak of peace on Earth and peace with Earth. Because peace on Earth and peace with Earth are interchangeable, and they are fed by inner peace within each of us. And while inner peace within is not easy, it helps us untangle the anger, denial, and dehumanization that we sometimes see or often see in these rooms. We live in fragile times, and having worked in war zones in my first career, I came to see climate change as a peace concern because the increased temperatures and the challenges to people already struggling intensify. And I understand that climate change is a justice concern because we have sufficient science on the what and why, and many incredible local and regional transformations. Yet many decision makers continue to focus on policies that subsidize our people and planet's destruction. To many faith voices in this COP, we can uphold healing in humanity, both inside and outside these rooms. Yet I spoke of a confusing and moral ethical time, and I see it here. Here at the Climate COP, in the last years, we witnessed an intensification of what I call pushback, often driven by fear and denial. And in these rooms, to name a few significant drivers, such as unsustainable economic and unsustainable food systems, are often not mentioned, and few feel free to name the destructive role of fossil fuels, which, according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, accounts for approximately 2/3 of annual global anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions, and net zero is only possible through rapid reduction of fossil fuels. Yet brave voices are increasing in this COP. Colombia's plan to phase out fossil fuels leads to an international gathering of the willing in April 2026. The United Kingdom has capped new licenses for oil and gas. However, other fossil fuel extraction wealthy countries and developed countries in these rooms are increasing fossil fuel extraction and production. And unfortunately, extraction is not included in NDCs, nor are military emissions. And there is a direct correlation between increases in military emissions and increases in military budgets. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, last year we spent 2.7 trillion on military, a 9% jump from the previous year and the 10th consecutive year of growth. $2.7 trillion would cover 3 years of developing country climate finance of $1 trillion a year, or pay outright for the world's global electricity grid to be upgraded and made net zero by 2030. But instead we see loans, not grants. I want to speak to you about peace in a sense of the more urgent we are now, the less catastrophic we face rises. And that's why finance is so critical, because the 2.6 Celsius rise by 2100 we hear is based on policies that are not necessarily financed, and we're currently on track for a 3.2 at current emissions. So to bring you back to that, a peace and justice concern. Here in other multilateral spaces, it is an extremely tense time. Finance for multilateral humanitarian and peace efforts are reducing, and the United States has walked out of all responsibilities. It is a deeply confusing moral time, because even countries that promote climate ambition in turn arrest and imprison people for protesting over insufficient climate action, or turn a blind eye when environmental human rights defenders are killed, or arrest and imprison people for crying out against a genocide in Gaza. This is a time that desperately needs our personal witness, our care, our courage and compassion, our faith voices across the spectrum, those in the negotiations, those in the United Nations, those in civil society. The majority of people here have a spiritual life. And may our love for creation nourish hope, not despair, nourish love, not fear, open our minds and hearts to the energy, economic, and food system transformations that can be based on values for the common good. To cherish the sacred around us, life is sacred, who are we to destroy? Peace on earth and peace with earth, interchangeable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I would now like to give the floor to Sister Jayanti, please.
Thank you for the kind invitation to be here today with all of you. When all the traditions of the world are united and recognize that nature is sacred, then, of course, if we just looked at facts and figures, 85% of the world are believers. And so why is it not possible for us to bring about a change? I believe that we just simply have to look inside and see what change I can bring about within myself so that I'm able to love and respect myself, and beyond that, love and respect my brothers and sisters, but also that love and respect can then extend out to nature and all parts of the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom and the material, mineral world also. All of this is possible, but I think we just need to make it our passion, our priority, to be able to share these ideas with as many people as possible. When you start a conversation about fashion, many people get involved in that. When you start a conversation about the latest movie, many will chip in and show their interest and share their ideas. Can we not make conversations about the environment and what is happening to the world around us our next conversation piece? I believe that we can. And those who are here have had the passion, the interest, and the commitment to travel probably from long distances to come here and show that commitment to climate change transformation. So I think that the next step really has to be whatever it is I understand and I know, I have to follow those guidelines in my life in terms of my respect for all forms of life, including animals. We're coming up to a day in November which has been described as the Day of Animal Rights. And human rights are, of course, foremost in my mind too, but changing every government of the world and trying to make sure that everyone understands about human rights is one aspect, but another aspect is the little changes I can bring about in my own life. And if I were to recognize the rights of animals, then I would very quickly change to a diet that is not just vegetarian, but actually vegan, so that there is no harm being caused to any form of life whatsoever. And so I think that we hear the statistics, and Lindsay shared very, very dramatic statistics about what's going on in the world today. But I think we've had the courage to take this long journey and be here. But I think the next step really has to be able to share this, and not just with our children and our families, but to our neighbors, to everyone we know, so that people can actually make a choice and understand what's going on. There comes a moment when the sound is so loud that even leaders can't stop hearing it. They have to take note of it and follow it through and bring about a change. So I see how, on the one hand, all governments, or many governments, would say that yes, it's important to stop proliferation of fossil fuels, but then the next moment they're already signing deals that allow new oil wells and gas avenues to be addressed, and they're giving licenses for all of this for the sake of money. And of course, money plays a big, big role in our world today, but can we request that money be spent in purposeful, creative work that's going to support the planet, rather than things that are going to harm the planet and maybe even destroy this planet? So I think that with our passion and our love, we can definitely share this message so that people of the world unite under this banner that we have to bring about change. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Jayanti. Budi, I give the floor to you.
So thank you very much, Hendrik. Good morning, everyone. I will speak specifically on the issue of just transition, coming from the perspective of faith, ethics, and human rights. Prior to our participations to COP30, we did a study in collaboration with Lutheran World Federations. And the study, in fact, is trying to identify barriers to these so-called just transitions, and how faith-based organizations can help to overcome them, ensuring that effective climate response are guided by compassion, equity, and respect for both the people and the planet. I would like to share 5 key recommendations from our findings. The first is transitioning toward a sustainable economic system that protects human rights and human dignity. Just transition is transformation toward a sustainable economic system where the well-being of people and the planet is central. It requires reimagining the current dominant capitalist model, which drives relentless extraction and exploitation. This system must give way to an economic rooted in ecological sustainability, social equity, and collective care. Climate action must be embedded within a framework that values human dignity, community resilience, and the right of nature, rather than its commodification. The second recommendation is transition toward a defossilized economy. Just transition is a transformation toward the phase-out of fossil fuels while guaranteeing access to affordable and sustainable energy for all. This process must include the elimination of fossil fuel subsidies through a deliberate and transparent approach that is participatory and just. The third recommendation is ensuring inclusive and right-based participations and decision-making processes. Just transition is a transition toward inclusive participatory processes where communities are not only protected but empowered as fellow decision makers. Marginalized groups, including women, indigenous peoples, youth, children, and workers at every stage of decision-making processes. They are not only disproportionately affected by climate change and economic shift, but also hold important knowledge and perspective that can shape equitable and sustainable solutions. The fourth recommendation is enhancing global solidarity toward just transformation. Just transition should put global solidarity at the center of climate action. By putting the focus only on energy transition, the current multilateral negotiation falls short by overlooking other critical dimensions of justice, such as human rights, in particular the indigenous and labor rights, the right of nature, as well as social equity and intergenerational dimension. International cooperation must prioritize not only decarbonization, but also the socio-economic restructuring necessary to leave no one behind. Just transition must confront and rectify systemic injustice revealed by the climate crisis, addressing intersections of race, gender, colonialism, and historical power imbalances. The last recommendation is ensuring the protection of our common home. Just transition should ensure the protections of our common home, including environment, biodiversity, ecosystem, livelihood, and the right of future generations. Climate action must be rooted in a deep ethical commitment to sustainability and justice. This means recognizing the interconnectedness of ecological health and human well-being and prioritizing policies that restore biodiversity, safeguard natural resources, and promote regenerative practices. Just transition must uphold the principle of intergenerational equity, ensuring that today's decisions do not compromise the ability of future generations to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Budi. Applause, of course. We have heard of peace, we have heard of rights. Margareta, I give the floor to you on gender.
Thank you, Henrik. And dear fellow human beings, I'm here to talk about one of the fundamental values of our faith. I'm glad I'm here at this table with people of faith. And we don't talk about our nationality, our national interest. It is our values that brings us together. And it's our values for a healed, broken world, but also broken relations with each other. So for me, the gender negotiations, the gender action plan, is actually at the heart of these negotiations. I was a little bit late because I was interviewed by an Indian journalist who said, "Oh, I apologize, I follow gender and human rights, and that is at the side of the negotiations." And no, I told her, I think the questions you follow should be at the heart of these negotiations. Because it is about justice, it is about inclusion and everybody's right to live a healthy life. And this gap should actually guide us and give us the values, not just for gender issues, but for all the other issues for these climate negotiations. That's what I believe in, and I hope you, my fellow human beings, are believing the same. I was actually very optimistic when I came to Belém, because we had a gender action plan. And the gender action plan was a result of an extremely participatory process. And I want to thank the negotiators and those who shared the process. It's the only room which I have entered where the negotiators had greeted the women and gender constituency, the indigenous people, the youth, with welcome. Your inputs are welcome. We have had a hard work. There have been workshops to do not just words, because some of us are so deeply tired of climate words. We want to see climate actions. So the whole focus has been to have an actionable gender action plan, an implementable. Read it and you can see what you can do. And the fantastic thing, this process has been transformative. And I felt when I came here that actually there was a quite big regional consensus around the gap. Of course, there was one issue, and I agree with that issue, and that is that the means provided to make it implementable was not there. It's a right and just request from people in the Global South and vulnerable communities. But what has happened this week, it's really discouraging. The text is full of brackets. And I don't know if it's the first time in the COP history that we have 6 footnotes where we try to define a concept that was already approved. We have the gender program. So to question that we use the word gender, it's like questioning, should we have footnotes on adaptation, footnote? I mean, that is really making this into a messy process. So you could be very disillusioned, but I think as people of faith, I heard somebody, and it was actually somebody from the Women and Gender constituency who said, but it's actually very few actors who are opposing. It's a handful. So it must mean that this gap and the suggestion is really powerful. So I have not given up the hope yet. So I still hope that we can contribute to an actionable gap, that we can continue to build those global bridges. We are not talking about national interest, so that we can have a very inclusive, actionable gender action plan, which will not just direct gender on the side, it should actually be brought into all the big negotiating rooms, and not with weak language. It should be compulsory. We don't want to say encourage and agree, if this is nice. We want to say, this is how it should happen. So that is my message to you today. Please continue to support us in this struggle.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yeah, let's see, we have there. If you have a microphone.
Good morning. My name is Husia Michwabi. I just had to find out, what are the faith leaders saying about the militarization of the space? We speak about the indigenous communities. They came and they wanted protections of the environment. The following morning, we had a lot of security presence. So that will be my question, to say, what are we saying about what you have experienced outside? Thank you very much.
Next one.
Hello, my name is Dinesh Suna from the World Council of Churches. I want to congratulate the Faith Voices. Despite having not having a faith pavilion, we still have such strong presence of faith communities raising to the moral and ethical voice that the COP must listen to. And friends, in addition, today is the Agriculture and Food Security Day at the COP, and the World Council of Churches is also very happy to introduce to all of us a Living Planet Monitor, a publication that gives us an overview of food security, water resources, and land use vis-a-vis climate resiliency that the faith communities are promoting. So I just wanted to congratulate all of you, and also want to draw your attention to this publication that faith communities have one other evidence-based advocacy to contribute to. Thank you.
Thank you. Lindsay, you can answer.
First, thank you, World Council of Churches, for the publication. But to my friend about the military, I can speak for the Quaker United Nations office. We're deeply involved in human rights and Indigenous peoples' rights. We were part of the protection last week around the Indigenous peoples group that came, alongside other many civil society colleagues that were holding our arms to make sure the army didn't come through. And we signed the letter that was given to the UNFCCC Executive Secretary yesterday, saying, who are you trying to make safe? So it's grounded, this work. I think all faith communities that we work with are grounded in human rights and Indigenous people's rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, there we have a comment.
Hello, I'm Gunnar Keitu from the Norwegian Center of Churches, Faiths and Life Stances in Norway. And I have a question to you, Margareta, particularly. Thank you for an emotive talk. That was refreshing. And I wonder, do you have any strategies to suggest to reach those few people who are opposing? You know, what are the lines of, you know, the potentials, as it were, the breaches in the wall, if you like, to reach those hearts?
I know that, yes, there are bilaterals going on, and we also try to support our sisters and brothers who come from these countries to have dialogues. We also try to find out the reason why certain communities or certain countries are opposing the text, because it's not always the same. So I'm sure that for some of the issues, it can be sorted out in these bilaterals. I mean, I think that's also one of the reasons why it's closed. I know that what I try to do is that I have contact with the Swedish negotiators, and I'm trying to bring together the negotiators from the other countries, but that has mainly been around financing. When it comes to the issue of morality, it's a bit difficult, because we can also, again, back to the talk I had with this Indian journalist, that it's actually an issue of challenging power. And of course, if people want to keep, and now I will say that, patriarchal power in place, they are not so open to dialogue. So the only thing we can do is to reach out and tell them that they should listen and, of course, have dialogue. But if that is, I mean, you have groups who have that faith. And I think we as a faith community, of course, we need to interpret our faith in a way so that it's not oppressive.
Margareta, we have to stop there.
Sorry.
So the time is up and we have to
getting
respect the time rules for this. So thank you so much for coming. Please connect with us if you want to have more in context. Thank you so much.